My hands tremble as I type this. I can still feel the sting of betrayal, as fresh as the day it happened. I should have known better. I should have seen the signs. But it was too late when I finally opened my eyes. My name is Elaine. Growing up, my family was everything to me. My parents, my sister, and I shared a bond that I thought was unbreakable. We laughed together, cried together, celebrated together. But as we grew older, the cracks began to show. Life got complicated. Love became conditional, and loyalty was tested. I was the older sister, the responsible one. Sarah, my younger sister, was the wild spirit, always chasing the next thrill. I loved her for it. I admired her confidence. But I also felt a need to protect her. I had always been the one to keep our family grounded, the one who kept our parents in check when they fought, and the one who picked up the pieces when things fell apart. But I never thought Sarah would be the one to betray me. When I married David, it felt like a dream come true. He was everything I wanted, kind, funny, and deeply caring. Our wedding was a celebration of love, surrounded by family and friends. But as the years passed, I began to notice a shift in Sarah's behavior. She seemed to crave attention, constantly seeking validation from anyone who would give it to her. Little did I know her need for approval would ultimately lead to my downfall. The first time I noticed something was off was at my daughter's birthday party. Sarah was there, laughing and joking, but I could see the way she looked at David. It made my stomach churn. I brushed it off as paranoia. I had always trusted my sister. Then came the whispers. I started hearing rumors from friends that Sarah was flirting with David. I confronted her, and she laughed it off as a joke. "You know I'd never do that to you, right? You're my sister." But her laughter felt hollow, and the pit in my stomach grew heavier. I started to watch them closely, and what I found made my heart sink. They shared glances when they thought no one was looking. Conversations that lingered a little too long. I tried to convince myself that it was nothing. I didn't want to believe my sister could do something so cruel. But then came the night that shattered everything. It was a Saturday, our usual family game night. David had planned a special surprise, his famous lasagna. I was excited. As I walked into the living room with the dessert, I caught sight of Sarah leaning in close to him, whispering something that made him laugh. I felt a wave of nausea wash over me. I put the dessert down and cleared my throat, forcing a smile. Dinner's ready. As we sat down to eat, I tried to focus on the food, but my eyes kept darting to Sarah and David. I couldn't shake the feeling that they were hiding something from me. It felt suffocating. Days turned into weeks, and my suspicions grew. I confronted David, and he assured me there was nothing going on. "You're just being paranoid," he said. "You know I love you." But the reassurance didn't settle my nerves. Then came the text. It was a message from an unknown number. "I saw your sister and David together." It didn't look innocent. My heart raced as I read the words. I couldn't breathe. I felt the walls closing in on me. I decided to confront Sarah again. I invited her over for coffee, my heart pounding with dread. I needed to know the truth. She arrived, bubbly as ever, but I could see the flicker of worry in her eyes. I asked her about the text. "What are you talking about?" she replied, her voice rising slightly. "Don't play games with me, Sarah. I know something is going on between you and David." The silence that followed was deafening. Her expression shifted, a mixture of guilt and defiance. "You're overreacting, Elaine. You're just jealous." Jealous? I was heartbroken. I felt betrayed by the person I had always trusted the most. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay awake, replaying every moment, every interaction. I felt like a fool. The following week, I decided to confront David one last time. I found him in our living room, scrolling through his phone. I took a deep breath. "I need you to be honest with me. Are you having an affair with my sister?" He looked up, confusion written across his face.
What? Elaine? No.
"I love you." But I could see the hesitation in his eyes. "You can't lie to me anymore. I just need to know the truth." And then it happened. I saw a shadow pass over his face. I'm not having an affair, but Sarah and I have been close. The world around me faded. Close? What did that even mean? I felt like I was drowning. I took a step back, my heart racing. So, you admit there's something? He looked down, shame washing over him. We've talked about things, personal things. I didn't mean for it to go this far. It felt like a betrayal of my marriage, of everything we had built together. My hands were shaking. You need to choose, David. It's either me or her. As the days passed, I felt like a ghost in my own home. I couldn't look at either of them. I decided to confront Sarah one last time. I invited her over, my heart pounding with a mix of anger and heartbreak. When she arrived, I could see the confidence in her step. But I was done playing games. We need to talk. She crossed her arms, her expression defensive. What's this about? Stop pretending like you haven't been trying to come between David and me. I know about your late-night calls and your flirtation. Her eyes widened, but then she smirked. You're just being dramatic, Elaine. You don't know what you're talking about. I felt a rush of anger. I trusted you. You're my sister. How could you do this to me? She shrugged. Maybe you should have kept a better eye on your husband. Her words cut deeper than any knife. I felt the ground shift beneath me. In that moment, I realized this wasn't just about David. This was about trust, loyalty, and the bond that had been shattered. The breaking point came when I found out David had been lying to me. He had seen Sarah without my knowledge, keeping secrets that felt like daggers to my heart. I was done. I packed a bag and left. I spent the night at a friend's house, trying to make sense of everything. I felt lost, but I also felt a strange sense of clarity. In the weeks that followed, I filed for divorce. It felt like a weight lifted off my shoulders. I couldn't change what had happened, but I could control my future. I confronted Sarah one last time, but this time I was calm. I'm done with you. You've betrayed me in a way I can't forgive. I can't have you in my life anymore. Her face twisted in anger. You really think you can just walk away? You're going to regret this. But I didn't. I felt a sense of freedom. I was reclaiming my life. As I sit here, writing this, I realize something. Betrayal can tear you apart, but it can also set you free. It's painful, but it's also a chance to rebuild. I lost my sister, my marriage, and a part of myself. But I also found my strength. I don't know what the future holds, but I'm ready to face it. I've learned that sometimes the hardest decisions lead to the greatest transformations. And as for Sarah and David, I don't need them anymore. I'm learning to love myself again, and that's a journey worth taking. So, here I am, standing at the edge of my new beginning. I've closed that door, and I refuse to look back. Sometimes, the hardest betrayals lead us to the most beautiful truths. But the journey wasn't over. The months that followed were filled with ups and downs. I thought I had found peace, but the memories would creep back in when I least expected it. I had good days where I felt empowered, and then there were days where the weight of betrayal would crash down on me like a tidal wave. My divorce was finalized a few months later. It was a relief in many ways, but it also felt like I was losing the last piece of my old life. I remember sitting in my lawyer's office, the papers before me, shaking as I signed my name. Each stroke of the pen felt like a goodbye to the dreams I had built with David, to the family we were supposed to be together. Afterward, I walked to my car and sat there, staring at the steering wheel. I felt hollow. How had it come to this? I thought I would be married forever. I thought my sister would always be by my side. I took a deep breath and forced myself to drive home. The silence in the car was deafening. I turned on the radio, desperately seeking distraction. A love song played, and I almost laughed. How ridiculous, I thought. Love songs felt like cruel reminders of what I had lost. But then I remembered something my therapist had told me. You must allow yourself to grieve, to feel the pain. Only then can you truly begin to heal. I realized I had been avoiding my feelings, putting on a brave face for everyone around me. That evening, I decided to let myself feel. I poured a glass of wine and sat on my porch as the sun set. I thought about the good times with David, The laughter, the inside jokes, the adventures. But I also thought about the betrayal, the moments that led to my heartbreaking. I allowed the tears to flow freely. It felt cathartic, like a release. For the first time in months, I didn't feel the need to hide my pain. I was angry. I was sad. I was betrayed. And that was okay. As the weeks passed, I began to rebuild my life. I started going out with friends again, reconnecting with people I had lost touch with. I took up yoga, finding solace in the movement. Each class felt like a step toward healing. I learned to breathe through the pain, to let it flow through me without letting it consume me. One day, while at a coffee shop, I ran into an old friend, Lisa. We had been inseparable in college, but life had pulled us in different directions. She looked different, more mature, with a quiet confidence that drew me in. "Elaine, it's been ages," she exclaimed, wrapping me in a warm hug. We sat down, and I found myself opening up to her about everything that had happened. The betrayal, the divorce, the heartbreak. It felt good to share my story. Lisa listened intently, her eyes filled with empathy. "I had no idea you were going through all of this," she said softly. "You deserve so much better. You know that, right?" I nodded, but I wasn't sure if I believed her. "I want to help you find yourself again," she continued. "Let's plan a weekend getaway. Just us girls. We'll have fun, and you can let loose." I hesitated. It had been so long since I had allowed myself to have fun. But something about Lisa's enthusiasm ignited a spark of excitement within me. "Okay, let's do it," I replied, surprising myself. We planned a weekend trip to a cabin in the woods, a place where we used to go for college retreats. I felt a mix of excitement and anxiety as the date approached. What if I couldn't let go? What if the memories of David and Sarah haunted me? But as we drove to the cabin, the scenery shifted from concrete to lush greenery. The air felt fresher, and I could feel the weight of my past slowly lifting. When we arrived, the cabin was just as I remembered it, cozy and welcoming. We unpacked, and soon the aroma of homemade chili filled the air as we prepared dinner together, laughing and reminiscing about our college days. That evening, we sat by the fire, sipping wine and sharing stories. It felt liberating. I had longed for this connection, for laughter to fill the void that had consumed me. We talked late into the night, and for the first time in a long while, I felt a glimmer of hope. The next day, we hiked through the woods, breathing in the crisp air. I felt alive. The pain was still there, but it wasn't suffocating me anymore. With every step, I felt like I was shedding the weight of my past. On our last night, we sat by the fire again, this time under a blanket of stars. I opened up to Lisa about my fears, my regrets, and my hopes for the future. "I don't want to stay stuck in this pain, but I don't know how to let go," I admitted, my voice trembling. Lisa looked at me, her expression serious. "You have to forgive yourself first, Elaine. You didn't do anything wrong. You trusted the people you loved, and they betrayed that trust. But it's not your fault. You deserve happiness." Her words struck a chord deep within me. I had been so focused on the betrayal that I hadn't considered the importance of self-forgiveness. I realized I had been holding on to guilt, thinking I could have somehow prevented the heartbreak. As we returned home from the trip, I felt renewed. I was determined to take control of my life. I enrolled in a personal development course and started journaling to process my emotions. I began to understand the depth of my feelings and what I truly wanted moving forward. But just when I thought I was on the right path, the past came crashing back. One evening, I received a text from Sarah. It was unexpected and instantly sent me spiraling. "Can we talk? I know I messed up, but I want to apologize." I stared at the screen, my heart racing. The thought of facing her again filled me with dread. But part of me was curious. Did she really want to apologize? Or was this just another manipulation? After much deliberation, I decided to meet her. We arranged to meet at a coffee shop, a neutral ground that felt safe. As I walked in, I felt a surge of anxiety. She was already sitting there, fidgeting with her hands. When she saw me, her face lit up with a mix of hope and guilt. "Elaine," she said softly, "thank you for coming. I nodded, unsure of what to say. I know I hurt you. I was selfish, and I let my insecurities get the best of me. I never meant to come between you and David, she said, her voice trembling. I felt a mix of anger and sadness. But you did, Sarah. You tore our family apart. It's not just about David. It's about trust. You are my sister. I thought you would always have my back. Her eyes glistened with tears. I know, and I'm so sorry. I've been going to therapy trying to understand why I acted the way I did. I've realized that I was envious of your life, your marriage. I was too caught up in my own issues to see how much I was hurting you. I listened, torn between wanting to scream and wanting to forgive her. You had everything, Sarah. A loving family, a supportive sister. I always tried to lift you up, but you chose to betray me in the worst way. I can't change what happened, but I want to make amends, she said, her voice pleading. I miss you. I miss us. I felt a pang in my heart. Despite everything, I missed her too. But could I trust her again? I don't know if I can just forgive and forget, I admitted. It's not that simple. I understand, she replied. I'm not asking for things to go back to how they were. I just want a chance to show you that I'm trying to change. I will work to earn your trust back. As I sat there, I realized that I had a choice. I could choose to hold on to the anger, or I could choose to try to heal. It wouldn't be easy, but perhaps there was a way forward. Let's take it slow, I finally said. I can't promise our relationship will ever be the same, but I'm willing to try. Her face broke into a smile, and for the first time in a long while, I felt a flicker of hope. The journey ahead wouldn't be easy, but I was ready to take it one step at a time. The weeks that followed were filled with cautious optimism. Sarah and I began to reconnect, slowly rebuilding our relationship. We had awkward conversations, painful moments, and long talks about our past. But through it all, I felt a shift within myself. I was no longer the scared sister that had been betrayed. I was finding my voice again. I learned to set boundaries. I didn't allow myself to be manipulated. I stood firm in my decisions, and it felt empowering. Sarah was still working through her issues, but she was making an effort to change. I started to see glimpses of the sister I had loved. The one who used to dance around the living room with me, the one who shared my dreams. One evening, while we were having dinner, Sarah looked at me with sincerity. I want you to know that I'm really working on myself. I've realized how toxic my behavior was, and I'm committed to changing. I nodded, feeling a sense of pride. I believe you, but it's going to take time for me to fully trust you again. I understand, she replied. I just want you to know how sorry I am. I never wanted to hurt you, and it's been eating me up inside. The conversation brought us closer, and I found myself laughing at old memories, reminiscing about our childhood. The bond we had shared was slowly being rekindled, but the scar of betrayal was still there. As the months passed, I continued to focus on my own healing. I sought therapy, dove into new hobbies, and even started volunteering at a local shelter. I began to find joy in helping others, and it helped me regain a sense of purpose. I also started dating again, cautiously dipping my toes back into the world of love. I met Mark at a local event, and he was everything I needed at that moment, kind, patient, and understanding. He listened to my story without judgment and respected my boundaries. As our relationship blossomed, I found myself feeling alive again. Mark encouraged me to embrace my passions, and I started painting again, something I had loved but had set aside during my marriage. Each stroke of the brush felt like therapy, a release of emotions I had bottled up for so long. But just when I thought I was finding my footing, the past came rushing back once more. One day, while I was at the local coffee shop, I spotted a familiar face across the room. It was David. My heart sank as I watched him laugh with someone at a nearby table. I hadn't seen him since the divorce, and the sight of him sent a jolt of memories flooding back. The laughter we once shared, the dreams we had built, everything came rushing back like a tidal wave. I took a deep breath, fighting the urge to bolt. I had come so far. Why was I letting this man have such power over me still? He hadn't even noticed me yet, and part of me wanted to keep it that way. But another part of me felt an overwhelming urge to confront him and to reclaim my narrative. I wavered for a moment, debating whether or not to approach him. But before I could make a decision, he glanced around the cafe and locked eyes with me. I could feel my heart racing as I braced myself for whatever was about to happen. "Elaine," he said, a hint of surprise in his voice as he stood up and walked over to my table. "David," I replied, my voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions churning inside me. "Wow, it's been a while," he said, scratching the back of his neck awkwardly. "Yeah, it has," I said, trying to keep my tone neutral. There was an uncomfortable silence between us, the weight of our shared history hanging in the air. I could see the tension in his expression, the way he shifted his weight from one foot to another. "I've been meaning to reach out," he began, but I cut him off.
Why?
"So you can tell me how sorry you are? How you wish things were different? Because I don't need to hear it." He looked taken aback, but there was a flicker of something in his eyes. Regret, perhaps? "Elaine, I know I hurt you, and I've been doing a lot of thinking. I just wanted to see how you were doing." "How I'm doing?" I echoed incredulously. "You have no idea what I've been through. You shattered my life, David. You broke my trust." "I know," he said, his voice low. "I've been working on myself, too. I've been in therapy trying to understand why I made those choices." "Therapy doesn't change what you did," I shot back. "You chose to betray me. You chose to hurt me. You can't just erase that." He sighed deeply, running a hand through his hair. "I'm not trying to erase it.
I just want a chance to make it right.
I want to apologize properly, to take responsibility for my actions." "Do you think that's enough? An apology?" I asked, my voice trembling with emotion. "Do you think that will fix everything? It doesn't work that way." "I know it doesn't," he conceded. "But I've missed you, Elaine. I've missed us." I felt a rush of anger mixed with an unexpected pang of longing. I had loved him once. How could I not feel something? But I quickly reminded myself of the pain he had caused. "You can't just come back into my life because it's convenient for you now. It doesn't work that way." "I know. I don't want to lose you forever," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. I shook my head, feeling tears prick at the corners of my eyes. "You already lost me, David. You made that choice when you crossed that line." He opened his mouth to say something, but I held up a hand. "This conversation is over. I need to go." I stood up, feeling the weight of his gaze on my back as I walked away. The fresh air outside was a welcome relief, but my heart was racing. I felt like I had just faced a ghost from my past, and the encounter left me shaken. That evening, I confided in Mark about the encounter. I was nervous, unsure of how he would react. I had grown to care for him deeply, and the last thing I wanted was to jeopardize our blossoming relationship. "Mark, I saw David today," I said, my voice trembling. He looked at me, his expression serious. "How did that go?" "It was intense," I admitted. He wanted to talk, to apologize. But I stood my ground. I told him how much he hurt me, how he shattered my trust. Mark nodded, his expression remaining neutral. "That's good, Elaine. You need to stand up for yourself. But how do you feel about it?" I took a deep breath, trying to process my emotions. I felt angry, sad, but also this strange longing. I loved him once, and a part of me misses who we were before everything fell apart. Mark reached out, taking my hand. "It's okay to feel conflicted. Healing isn't linear. Just be honest with yourself about what you want." I appreciated his understanding. "I don't want to go back to that life. I want to move forward," I said, trying to reassure myself. As the days passed, I found myself replaying the encounter with David over and over in my mind. It had stirred up emotions I thought I had buried. I confided in Sarah, who was now trying to be a supportive sister. "I saw him, Sarah," I told her one evening over dinner, and it was like all the pain came flooding back. She looked concerned. "Are you okay? Do you want to talk about it?" "I don't know," I admitted. I felt empowered standing up to him, but seeing him made me realize how much I lost. Sarah nodded slowly. "It's natural to feel that way. You shared a life together, and it's okay to miss the good times." I hesitated before asking the question that had been weighing on my mind. Do you think he can really change? I hope so, Sarah replied thoughtfully. But change takes time, and it's not your responsibility to wait for him. You've done so much work on yourself, and you deserve someone who truly values you. Her words resonated with me. I had spent so long healing and rediscovering who I was. I didn't want to jeopardize that for someone who had hurt me so deeply. The next few weeks passed in a blur. I continued to grow closer to Mark, finding comfort in his presence. He was patient and kind, and every moment spent with him felt like a step toward normalcy. But then came another shock when I received a message from David. Can we talk again? I need to explain something important. My heart raced as I read the message. Part of me wanted to ignore it, to block him out completely. But another part of me was curious. What could he possibly have left to say? After much deliberation, I decided to meet him one more time. I needed to put this part of my past to rest once and for all. We met at a small park, the sun shining brightly overhead. As I approached, I could see him sitting on a bench, his hands clasped tightly together. Elaine, he said, standing up as I approached. Thank you for coming. I nodded, feeling my heart race. What did you want to talk about? He took a deep breath, looking pained. I've been doing a lot of soul-searching since we last spoke. I realized that I was never honest about everything that happened. What do you mean? I asked, my curiosity piqued. I didn't just betray you with Sarah. I was unfaithful in other ways too, emotionally and mentally. I was selfish, and I let my insecurities drive me to hurt the people I loved the most. My stomach dropped as he spoke. What are you saying? I'm saying I was looking for validation in all the wrong places. I thought I could find happiness outside of our marriage. But I was wrong. I'm sorry for everything. His words hit me like a ton of bricks. I had always suspected there was more to the story. You mean to tell me this wasn't just a one-time mistake? It was an ongoing issue? He nodded, shame etched on his face.
Yes.
I was unfaithful in more ways than one. I didn't just betray you with Sarah. I was emotionally distant and searching for something I thought I was missing. I lost sight of what truly mattered. I felt a mix of anger and sadness bubbling to the surface. And you waited until now to tell me this? After everything? I didn't know how to face it, he admitted. I was ashamed, and I thought if I ignored it, it would go away. But it didn't. I lost you because of my own failures. I felt tears welling up in my eyes. You can't undo the past, David. I can't just pretend like this didn't happen. You shattered my trust. I know, he said, his voice breaking. But I'm trying to take responsibility. I'm working on myself, and I want to be better. I don't want to lose you forever. The pain in his voice tugged at my heart, but I reminded myself of all the hurt he had caused. You can't just expect me to forget everything. Healing takes time. I understand. I'm not asking you to forgive me right away. I just wanted to be honest with you, he said. I took a deep breath, trying to process everything. I appreciate your honesty, but it doesn't change what happened. I need time to think. Of course, he replied, his expression a mix of regret and understanding. As I walked away from our conversation, I felt a strange sense of closure. I didn't know what the future held, but I was finally ready to let go of the past. In the weeks that followed, I continued to focus on my relationship with Mark. He had been incredibly supportive, and I found myself falling for him more each day. He didn't rush me or pressure me into anything. Instead, he was patient and kind, allowing me to heal at my own pace. One evening, as we sat on my porch, I turned to him. Mark, I want to be honest with you about my past. I've been through a lot, and I don't want to hide anything. He looked at me, his expression open and understanding. You can tell me anything, Elaine. I'm here for you. Taking a deep breath, I shared my story, my marriage to David, the betrayal, the divorce, and my journey to healing. I told him about my struggles and the lingering scars that still affected me. I want to move forward with you, I said, my heart racing. But I need to know that you're okay with my past. Mark smiled softly, reaching for my hand. Everyone has a past, Elaine. What matters is who you are now and how you've grown. I admire your strength. His words filled me with warmth. I realized in that moment that I was ready to embrace this new chapter of my life. I was learning to let go of the pain and open my heart again. As the months turned into a year, I found myself thriving. I had built a new life for myself, one that was filled with love, laughter, and hope. Sarah and I continued to work on our relationship, taking baby steps toward rebuilding our bond. I learned to set boundaries, to communicate my needs, and to prioritize my own well-being. I discovered that healing was not a destination but a journey, one that I was willing to embrace. And then, one sunny afternoon, as Mark and I strolled through the park, I felt a surge of happiness. He turned to me, a glint of mischief in his eyes. "I have a surprise for you." "What is it?" I asked, curiosity bubbling up. "Close your eyes," he instructed, and I couldn't help but grin. When I opened them moments later, I was standing in front of a small, quaint art gallery. "I know how much you love painting, so I thought we could check this place out together," he said, his eyes sparkling. I felt a rush of gratitude. "This is perfect. Thank you." As we walked through the gallery, admiring the artwork on display, I realized how far I had come.
I was no longer defined by my past.
I was an artist, a survivor, and a woman who had learned to embrace life again. And as I stood there, hand in hand with Mark, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. I was ready to move forward, to love again without fear. I had reclaimed my narrative, and it was beautiful. In that moment, I knew that while the scars of betrayal would always be a part of me, they no longer defined me. I was stronger than I had ever been, and I was excited about the future. Sometimes, the hardest betrayals lead us to the most beautiful truths. And I was finally ready to embrace mine.